The two qualifying races for the opening round of the 2010 TM Master Cup Series season were not terribly eventful. The only noteworthy things to mention are that 4 of the 5 Independence Trophy candidates failed to qualify, with Cyrus Laterza and the 74 being the only team to transfer through. And Justin Brooks, of course, crashing into the pit wall was the only incident of note. Cyrus, however, surprised everybody by topping the times in both practice sessions, leaving some people in the paddock to believe that the MAO1, which the Independence Trophy teams are mostly using, is actually better than the rest of the cars in the field. We'll have to see come race day, or maybe Cyrus and the 74 team, the Michelin Sons, were just using qualifying setups. Dan, over to you. Thank you, Lance. The Delano Pole Award went to Ethan Everett in car number 11, driving for Team Star USA. Ethan Everett, of course, won here at Twin Ring Motegi last season in his debut race. There you see the field getting a good start, while mostly Zach Duff in the 28 car bottles up everyone else. Alexis Rainsford qualified 3rd, suggesting that the Volpe VCO2 maybe wasn't as slow as it appeared in preseason testing, and she's going to have a go for the lead here right on the first lap in that purple car, special paint scheme. International Women's Day was just this last weekend, and Alexis Rainsford advertising that on the front of the 27 car with her sponsor's encouragement. Of course, Alexis' new sponsor, Lynx, is actually owned by a few women in France. And the other Rainsford sister, Rachel, gets a nice view from the rear of the field. Right in front of Rachel is the 041 of Woody Watts and his new Katsiv. We'll talk about that later. There is Scott Stoidler in the 23 car in his new Tremwell Knight. The Camelot Racing team getting not too much pace out of that car so far. Defending series champion Leonid Roderick in the car number 4, that orange car, carrying clutch sponsorship, qualified inside the top 10 and slowly working his way through the field. Even though the tire compounds appeared to be similar to last year, it was clear that passing was a little bit harder than last year. Back up, here is Julia Nasova, actually a little further back in the field. Julia Nasova, now calling herself by her Russian name, Yulia Nasova, in the new Katsiv racing car. Car number 7, car 232, and the 041 of Woody Watts. The Katsiv has been very unreliable in testing. This car in the number 12 is Matt Taylor. His teammates, Dale Roswell and Carlos Donzello, had their team bought by the Majestic Motorsports team. Of course, that's a TM Lights team. Garth McAllister was the former owner, making this the only French team on the grid. Taylor's number 12 running in mid-pack. Lewis Kingston has got a new ride, the number 44 car. He's leading in this shot. Danny Savin in the 91, now driving for Alan Hodges. Gonna make a bit of a passing move on him. Power Steering Incorporated and James Dalton teamed up to build their own car and their own team. Well, Kurt Pliskin's having a nice view of the rear of the field in the new JD Predator. However, Marcus Leonard was having a much easier time in hunting down the competition, as Leonard is running on the upper midfield and is clawing his way through the field. Lance called this car the prettiest car he's ever seen, and with that design on the front with the grills, kind of hard not to agree with him. This is Tom Delgado in the 837. Yes, triple-digit numbers are now allowed in the Master Cup Series. Delgado having a very good run here on Nemoto's home turf. Of course, he's now driving for the Star Nemoto team. Cyrus Laterza in the 74 is driving the new Omeka MAO1. This is the spec car that most of the Independence Trophy teams are going to be using. Of course, Laterza being the only driver competing for the Independence Trophy that qualified. He's going to be leading the Independence Trophy, well, regardless of where he finishes. But he's currently doing a very good job hanging around with the top guns. You see Tony Durbin right behind him. Here's a team that could use a good run. The Team EFR cars aren't running so well. The new EFR Journey appears to be a little off the pace, at least at this particular track. Scott Bates is currently running, well, last in 39th. Ian Cooper not running so well, and Anthony Evans, of course, failed to qualify. Back up with the leaders, Ethan Everett going to make a move on Danny Savin for the race lead. And there goes Everett in car number 11 right around Danny Savin and into position number 1. Everett back up front. Cyrus Laterza, though, is going to take advantage, and here he goes right by Danny Savin and into second place. Fantastic run by the Michelin Sons team. There's Alexis Rainsford right behind him, going to take advantage of Brian Sendak, and the 8 is in 4th. This is Leon Kennison in car number 39, and he's having a fantastic run, seeing as the terrible off-season that the Ocean Team STS has had. They've had a number of brake problems with this car. Kennison's running in the upper midfield, Stefan McGlynn is running towards the back, and both of their other teammates, Stan Rosenstrutter and Austin Magnuson, both failed to qualify. STS engines are on board the Corsas, driven here by Stuart Sandoval in the 05. The other Corsas are Alonso Tosia in the 6, but he failed to qualify, and Enzo Medina in the 5. And also Milano Rossini in the 06. Here's Adrian Devereaux, teammate to Danny Sabin and Alan Hodges. Devereaux having a very good run in a car that looks very much like the car Scott Stoyler drove last year. Same team, Devereaux having a very good ride. The French driver who won the RROL title doing very well early on in the going. Caution 1 on lap 23 was also the only caution of the race. Milano Rossini in one of the aforementioned Corsas is going to lose an engine right in the front stretch, and Rossini is able to pull the car to the outside, and everybody is able to avoid him. Flavio Vespucci, the team owner, said that he expected more mechanical problems on the 06 car because this is the research and development team. Rossini supposedly has been promised a full-time drive in 2011. Here's Scott Hamilton in the 444 car leaving the pit lane. Right as Hamilton is doing so, Ethan Everett's taking the restart, with Danny Sabin in 2nd, Lewis Kingston in 3rd, Arto Kekkonen in 4th, and Zach Duff in 5th. Ethan Everett mysteriously pits after the green flag comes out, but we believe that this was to maximize a fuel strategy, which Ethan Everett used to great effect in the TM Junior race last year, giving Cyrus Laterza on the black 74 car the lead of the race. Can't say enough about how well the Mitchell & Sons team is doing so far. Laterza putting on a fantastic showing at these larger ovals. Chris Johans in that black, silver, and teal number 24 car, doing very well so far early on in the race. Johans is expected to be way behind his two teammates, Scott Stoyler and Gary Edwards, but the reverse has actually been true. Johans has been outpacing Edwards and Stoyler, proving the talent that he really has. Here is Zach Duff in car number 28, who is going to randomly have some kind of problem in his Volpe VCO2 and hold up the whole field. Here's the controversial part. This doesn't bring out a yellow flag, because there you see some of his teammates. You see his two teammates, Rainsford, going by, and here's Redlick going by. He's holding up the whole field, doing a hatchet job on everyone's race, and there will be a lot of people not too happy with Zach Duff at the moment. In particular, Cyril Volpe, his team boss, wasn't too impressed with this. This is kind of an odd thing from Zach Duff, who usually doesn't make silly mistakes like this, but it just appears that panic got the best of him, and he, well, held up just about everyone on the outside line, and then did the same for the inside line, then moved high after everyone on the outside line went by. Still, it's a very questionable thing to do for Duff. His mechanical problem was not terminal. He was able to get back in the race. Arto Kekkonen in the lead. And you can see this big gap he has. I'm still wondering why the flagger didn't throw a yellow for that, because that could have been spraying water all over the track or something. Lewis Kingston inherited 2nd place, with Cyrus Laterza in 3rd. Laterza's charmed existence continues. And right behind him would be Johans and Rainsford, then Franz Redlick, the 3rd of the full-time Volpes, Leonid Roderick, and then Stuart Sandoval in the 05. See, Redlick and Roderick appear to be racing each other. And then Enzo Medina, with Rachel Rainsford, Zelda Ashby, and Marcus Leonard would be fighting over who would be leading the 3rd pack, with Medina normally coming out on top. Great run so far for Enzo Medina, a driver who was maligned throughout last year for not performing well on track. Here's Arto Kekkonen right behind Zach Duff. However, after Duff's problem got fixed, it's not entirely sure what it was. Duff was actually able to run times comparable to Arto Kekkonen's, and therefore he wasn't really holding Arto up. And as a result, it took quite a bit of effort for Arto Kekkonen to finally pass Zach Duff. Duff at this point was going 2 laps down, so whatever problem it was appeared to be fixed fairly quickly. Marcus Leonard in the 999 car, as I will refer to it throughout the rest of the season, is leading the 3rd pack. There you see right behind him is Enzo Medina and Rachel Rainsford. There is a gap between Lewis Kingston and the leader of the race, Arto Kekkonen. Here we ride on board with Zach Duff's 28 car, and that is Arto Kekkonen right in front of him in the 14 car, as Arto encounters Ethan Everett, whose pit gamble, well, is appearing not to be working. However, Arto decides to avoid Ethan Everett by pitting on lap 64. Kekkonen diving into the pit lane. And here is Cyrus Laterza and Lewis Kingston, who are going to do the exact same thing. So, Laterza, Kingston pit, along with a fair amount of the rest of the field. Once they come by, you see Redlick diving on. Woody Watts pitted one lap before them on lap 63 in his Katsiv. And here comes Alexis Rainsford by, who will inherit the lead of the race. Right behind Rainsford is Chris Johans, who has not stopped yet either. Johans having a very good run so far, should say that as well. Alexis Rainsford in the International Women's Day car is going to pit the car with Johans at the same time as they enter the pits. The rest of the field is going to come by, or at least some cars are going to come by, Lewis Kingston in particular. This is going to give Ethan Everett the lead of the race, so his pit gamble is apparently paying off. Doesn't mean Zach Duff's in the lead lap. He's still a couple of laps down. Everett doing a very good job to hold on to the lead and is counting on strategy in order to win this race, because it doesn't appear as his race pace is too ominous. With Arto Kekkonen running in second, a fair big gap to Cyrus Laterza, who's running in the third position, with Alexis Rainsford right behind him in fourth. There we get a view of the 74 and 27 cars. Good runs for Laterza and Rainsford, and also some fairly good pit work. Although I should point out that Rainsford set one of the fastest laps of the race. She has never won on an oval before. Tony Durbin, Drew Eisenman, and Stuart Sandoval all running inside the top 10 with Leonid Roderick and I think that's Lewis Kingston right up in front of them. It's kind of hard to tell and they're just a tiny speck. I do my best. And here we go back to Ethan Everett, who on lap 70 pits the number 11 SAR, so it appears that his gamble doesn't pay off. Scott Hamilton in car number 44, here we are on lap 79. The engine in that Inglesby is going to go up in smoke, but thankfully he's right near the pit lane, so he can just dive right in. He doesn't hold up Kurt Pliskin, but that'll be the end of Hamilton's day, which had already gone from bad to worse. Hamilton had fallen off the lead lap in the pit stops, as had Chris Johans, I should point out. Alexis Rainsford in the closing stages of the race was able to run down Arto Kekkonen, setting several blisteringly fast lap times with Cyrus Laterza, using the draft from the 74 to help catch up. There's the 74 right there. Not an unsung hero today, very much a hero of the race. Right behind them are Lewis Kingston, Franz Redlick in the two, Leonid Roderick. However, they are quickly being caught by Drew Eisenman and Tony Durbin, who you can see in the background. Right behind Eisenman and Durbin are two of the Corsa cars, Enzo Medina and Stuart Sandoval, the only two Corsas left in the race after Rossini dropped out earlier on. Right here, with just under 15 laps to go, Alexis Rainsford in the 27 is going to make a move on Arto Kekkonen. She's been pressuring him for the past few laps, but Kekkonen is forced into a bit of a mistake here. Rainsford takes full advantage, and she sweeps onto the inside here and is going to take over first in the 27 car. Takes a while for Rainsford to get by, as I mentioned earlier. Passing here does seem to take a bit longer than last season. However, they run into Chris Johans, who is just about to go off the lead lap. Arto Kekkonen almost has a run at Rainsford due to Johans getting in the way. However, Rainsford decides she's not going to waste time and make Johans Arto Kekkonen's problem by making the move on the 24 car to get him behind her and to put the 24 car in between her and Arto. This would be too much for Kekkonen to be able to overcome. He was not able to pass Chris Johans in time, and Alexis Rainsford finally takes her first win on an oval track. Fantastic performance by Alexis Rainsford and the number 27 Lynx team. Arto Kekkonen winds up in second position. Cyrus Laterza, a surprising third. Then Drew Eisenman and Tony Durbin were able to pass the trio of Roderick, Redlick, and Kingston. Marcus Leonard in ninth. His Predator hunted down the competition and wound up finishing inside the top 10. Great start to the season for him. And then Rachel Rainsford finishes up in 10th. And if you were expecting there to be a great many changes from the top 10 results, top 10 finishers to the top 10 in points, well, then I hate to disappoint. Here's 11 through 20. Stuart Sandoval came out on top in the battle between him and Enzo Medina. Jacques Bouvier, the rookie, who we didn't really talk about at all, finished in 12th position. Then Vladimir Simonov, a fantastic job for the Katsev team to get that car to the finish, let alone inside the top 20. The Katsev team has had more problems with reliability than anyone else in the field. Alan Hodges 15th, Carlos Donzello was sit 16th, then Dale Roswell, the 1989 Series champion, the rock star Danny Savin in his Colton Corsair in 18th, Yumino Tenshi in the highest finishing the Moto in 19th, and then Matt Taylor in 20th. Return for the 2004 Series champion. I should probably note, great performance by Majestic Motorsports. They've had a pretty turbulent offseason, and to get all three cars in the top 20 after race 1 is a pretty good effort. And now let's have a look at the Independence Trophy standings, and well, it doesn't really take much of a genius to figure out what this is going to look like. Cyrus Laterza over Palmer Styles, Leigh Gruel, Justin Brooks, and Ali Riggs. When the competition fails to qualify and you're the only one in the field, it's just a matter of by how far ahead are you. And of course, Laterza's third place finish puts everyone else 81 points behind him. That's all for this week in the TM Master Cup Series. I'll see you next time.